Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, and this is Josh Bowe. As well, we are here on Wednesday, January 22nd. It's about 9:30. The Dallas Mavericks just lost a really probably painfully frustrating, depending on your point of view, game to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 115 to 114. It was the early game on ESPN. So, I don't know. I'm going to be interested to talk about this one. I was recapping, so I was writing a bunch of stuff down. This was an interesting game.
Yeah, because it's hard to talk about because the biggest thing to talk about today is not even the game. So let's talk about the game, and then I guess we'll interject the news about Derek Lively, because I mean Lively not playing impacted this game certainly.
Yeah.
To me, I thought the Mavericks did, again, it was, no one wants to hear it, but it was a valiant effort considering the circumstances. No Lively, no Najee Marshall, no Klay Thompson. I mean, they just can't. I mean, even beyond Luka, like they just can't. Their top 7 guys just cannot play.
I implore Najee Marshall to wash his hands. Like, I'm sorry, this is ridiculous, man. This is the probably the 6th game he's missed because of illness. I can't remember such a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, norovirus is gross. We have kids, we know, but it's just like, guys, come on. What are we doing? Anyway, the Klay thing was pretty frustrating because I was really looking forward to him kind of getting shots against this Wolves team. I knew he had an ankle thing, but I didn't actually think he was going to miss the game. Then he's out. And I think we talk about the Lively thing in the back half of the show. Yeah, honestly, I didn't follow what exactly happened because I feel like there's either we were misled or it was poorly reported or some combination of both, because now we're just in kind of a place where that's stinky. So, the first quarter was an ugly basketball quarter. 22 to 17, with the Mavericks getting, at one point they drew 3 fouls on one possession. I was like, oh gosh, hey, the Mavericks are going to march to the free throw line. That's fun. And instead they didn't.
Yeah. People are mad about that, and I get it. The disparity was so high. It was 34 attempts to 19 for Dallas. But look at the Mavericks lineup. Like, I mean, Kyrie doesn't get to the free throw. He actually got 8, which is a lot for him, and he doesn't normally get the free throw. Like, Dinwiddie on the season is their best of the people that are playing in this game. Dinwiddie was their best free throw attempter, like in terms of someone that can get to the line a lot. Like, PJ doesn't get to the line a lot. Gafford, Grant, like these are all role players that don't, they drive decently to the basket, but they don't get to the line a lot. And Kyrie doesn't get to the line a lot, considering, how big of a star and scorer he is, because of just the way he kind of plays, and he doesn't get a good whistle because he doesn't really free throw grift. Dinwiddie free throw grifts, and funny enough, he had 0 free throw attempts. So if you wanted to point something out, him not getting any is weird. He had that drive, I think it was in the fourth quarter, that they said they called the foul, but they called it on the floor, and it seemed like he was pretty clearly driving to the hoop. So that was kind of odd. But I mean, like the Wolves have Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. Like those two alone are better than anyone that Dallas put on the floor tonight in terms of drawing fouls and getting to the free throw line. So, I mean, fans are going to be mad about the officiating. I'm not going to, I don't want to get into it. Let fans be fans, be mad at refs. That's part of the gig. So I'm not going to, tut you and say you're wrong. Like, I don't want to say you're wrong, or I don't even really believe that. There's other things we can talk about, in this game that I think, are more tangible. Let's just put it that way.
Sure. So the first quarter was really ugly basketball. The second quarter, the Mavericks enacted a truly unique defensive strategy where it seemed to be their goal was to tire the Wolves out by allowing them to score every possession. Mm-hmm. At one point, they scored every possession for 5 straight minutes. 5 straight minutes. And the shocking part about this all was that Dallas kind of kept pace. They ended the quarter down by 2.
Maxi Kleber 8 points in the first half.
Ooh, baby, Maxi Kleber coming for you. He had some wild plays this game. The third quarter was more of the same, particularly the first 5 or so minutes, and then it felt like the Wolves were finally going to get some separation. They found themselves up 8 points after a Julius Randle and one. And it felt like the Mavericks were about to get put to bed, only for the Wolves to start running what I refer to as their garbage offense, where they just slowly lose their mind. I just want to take a minute to talk about Rudy Gobert, who is the most functionally useless offensive basketball player. He gunks up their offense way more than Randle does, and Randle makes some baffling decisions. But you just see the guy rolling to the basket, and he's got Kyrie on his hip. He is a foot plus taller than Kyrie, and they will not pass him the ball because he can't catch the ball. Like, they tried a few times late, and it's just painful watching the man.
Watching Gobert really goes to show the offensive skill that Gafford and Lively have as counterparts, because they're both Gobert, they share that archetype with Gobert, rim running, defensive minded bigs. And you realize that like Gafford and Lively being able to like shoot 70% from the floor, and everyone just wants to that's because they get lobs from Luka and Kyrie. Like, they just get handed all these points on a silver platter. Like, watch the way the Wolves have to play offense with Rudy Gobert, and you realize that there is a skill in scoring around the basket in those situations that isn't just inherent to being tall and athletic. Just, it just, there's more skill involved in that. Like, the touch that Gafford and Lively have around the basket, the confidence that they have to shoot shots that aren't just pure layups and dunks. Like, Gobert had 4 shots tonight. Like, he did get fouled a bunch, and credit to him, he made all 8 of his free throws. Like, dude, the Wolves won a 1-point game, and Gobert was 8 of 8 from the free throw line. That's probably the story of the game, maybe. Like, low key, like what's he shooting on the free throw line this season? He's shooting 67%, and he goes 100 tonight on 8 attempts. Like, he probably should have went 5 of 8, missed 3. They would have lost. So, that's kind of low key the game in a weird way.
So third quarter rolls along. The Mavericks end up down by 4. Fourth quarter starts. The Wolves connect on those 2 threes, which really that really was the kind of the dividing line where the game felt effectively over. But then the Mavericks just kept making runs. They kept making runs. And so if you want to take something away from this game, it was sort of the unwillingness of the Mavericks to die, where they had like 8 different chances. And you pointed this out late. So Kyrie hits a 3 at almost exactly the 6-minute mark. Okay. It's like 5:44. The Wolves are up 1. And at that point, the Mavericks weren't able to score. No, it was like, 5:44. The Mavericks weren't able to score a field goal until, I want to say, the PJ putback. I could go look at the game log, I'm pretty sure. And it was pretty crazy to see that in the sense of the Mavericks. This wasn't the normal, the more recent, the Mavs offense dying. They just weren't hitting shots.
Had a couple of Dinwiddie possessions that were unfortunate, but not as much as the last game. Kyrie got more involved in the fourth quarter, because I actually thought he was a little bit too passive in the first 3 quarters. And then he got more shots up in the fourth. They tried some stuff. It's hard without Lively, because like, he's averaging almost 3 assists a game, and they use him as that dribble handoff hub. They did a little bit with Gafford. They got 10 points out of Maxey, which feels like a miracle.
Yeah.
They tried some stuff. PJ had a good game, and I thought that they used PJ in smart ways in terms of getting him going toward the basket and trying to score in the paint instead of just being a spot up shooter. Like you said, they went 8 of 29 from 3. The Wolves went 11 of 29. Wolves made 3 more threes. That's kind of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and so the final minute kind of rolls down. The final minutes roll down. The Mavericks are down by 9. They scored 6 free throws from a variety of guys, and then just kind of kept coming as the Wolves slowly died on the vine.
Yep.
Kyrie missed a layup, which oddly enough, the offensive rebound and then ensuing made 3 probably kept them in it longer than they should have.
Yeah, if he made that layup, they would have not even had a chance to tie the game, as you're about to get to.
Which was crazy.
Yeah.
And then the Kyrie sinks a 3, And then they call a really, really soft foul on PJ Washington on Anthony Edwards' behalf. But you watch the replay, it is a foul. My question is, what on earth was Spencer Dinwiddie doing? Like, Spencer was like little brothering him, like poking at his hip from the side. It was really something else.
Yeah.
God, so mad. And so he hits both. And then I don't even remember what happened. Bottom line is
Kyrie had a chance to make a 3 to tie the game. And he had a one-on-one situation with Edwards. Actually got a pretty decent look. The Wolves didn't double him. Just rose up and it actually kind of looked good, but just came up short. And then from there, it's just Wolves make their free throws and it's game over.
Though Kyrie did sink a hilarious, like, there's 3 seconds left, and the Wolves were like, "We're not getting near you." Right. And Kyrie said, I don't know what the line was on the game, but that was
I think it was Mavs plus 3.5. So yeah.
Wow. So that really did actually fuck things then.
Yes, it did.
That's
made a lot of people happy and a lot of people mad.
Oh wow. All right. And so that's, the game ends, you're looking at stuff and like I don't know. I don't have the juice to be mad. There's a good contingent of fans, I think, that are pretty fed up with Kidd, but I don't really know. Like, the only thing I want Kidd to do differently is to run offense with Spencer, not just ISOs. Like, we ran a really good piece from Tyler Edsel today on the site about the isolation plays, the isolation frequency the Mavericks are running. And it's just, they need something else.
Yeah, they need something else. It's hard to ask Kyrie because you're asking him to do a lot because he has to be the offensive fulcrum without Luka. But he's such a good off-ball player, and I feel like they're getting away from his off-ball ability. Which is weird, like, because Spencer's ISOing it so much, but Kyrie's just kind of standing. Like, look, if you're gonna let Spencer handle the ball so much, like, at least run Kyrie around. But also that goes to the sense of, okay, you're gonna run Kyrie through a bunch of screens and run him out, and then ask him to then have a 30 usage, on top of that while he's dealing with a bad back. So maybe that goes into part of it, but maybe some more, have Spencer set some screens for Kyrie, have Kyrie set some screens for Spencer.
Yep.
Get them moving around a little bit more, get them catching the ball in different spots. It just feels like at times their offense, and I feel like they do a little bit more stuff at the start of quarters. And then the last 2 minutes of every quarter, it's one pass or 0 pass possessions where it's one screen for the ball handler, and that's it. And then maybe you get one pass at the end of the possession and you get a shot, or it's no passes and you get Dinwiddie taking an awkward floater as the shot clock is running out. It's just like, I don't understand why that keeps happening consistently at the end of these quarters. It's not just fourth quarter crunch time. It's end of third quarters, end of second quarters, end of first quarters. They've been doing it with Hardy too. Hardy was also out. His shooting could have been useful tonight as much as, he can drive you crazy with his decision making. Like, they just need someone to make a shot. And yeah, I don't, they can stand to be a bit more creative in these end of quarter situations. Although I just wonder how much of that is the coaching staff. Like, we just don't want to run Kyrie ragged, but I mean, at a certain point, man, like, you got to try something. Like, it's not working. So I don't know. Look, it's nice that Kyrie is not being run into the ground with a bad back, but if you're losing all these games, why don't try something else? Because it's not doing you any good if you're conserving Kyrie, but you're still losing all these games. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So, yeah. But also, they're gonna lose games with Luka and Lively out.
I know, and like, you go back, and I was I posted the Mavs schedule, including this Wolves game. And a lot of people said to me in response, where it's like, oh, I could see it's like a 13 game stretch, maybe 14. I can't remember. It's like, I can see the Mavericks winning 5 or 6 games here to close out before All-Star break. And I'm not sure whether people were factoring in Luka. I'm not sure people were factoring in Kyrie. I'm sort of factoring in Kyrie about half the games, and I'm not factoring in Luka at all. The Mavericks won 4 games since Luka went out. 4 games.
They're now 4-11.
4-11. It's tough road. to hoe. That is not,
And now you're doing this without Lively. No
right,
Lively.
Right. So no Lively now, and things just even if Luka comes back, certain things get better while other things remain worse. And that's not on Luka. That's just a team construction issue. The Mavericks are gonna have to do, we may need to construct a new chart. Did the Mavericks hit their threes?
Because they just need to have some variance luck in a couple of these games.
I think that's right.
But also, like we said, they lost by 1 point to the Wolves. You think Najee or Clay would it's not just Luka is out and Lively's out. Like the fact that they just keep having one or two, and again, these aren't prolonged absences, but like Najee missing a game or two, Clay missing a game or two, Kyrie missing a game. Like it's one thing for Luka and Lively to have these big injuries where they are just out for months, like prolonged period. You try to factor in how are they going to play without those two, but if you're also going to miss one or two in addition to that of your top six. One of spin the dice, roll the dice, and one of those guys is going to be out for one game or 2 games. I don't know, like that just makes it feel really nihilist to talk about this stuff because I don't know what they're supposed to do. And I'm the guy who's saying like, let's not just keep using injuries as an excuse because I think this roster is that good. But I guess if the roster doesn't play, I don't know, it's just a little maddening because I think if one of those guys play, do they win this game? Like if Clay, I don't know if Najee is playing in this game instead of if you get Najee 15 minutes instead of Kessler Edwards 15 minutes, do the Mavericks turn this 1 point loss into a 4-point win? I don't know. I don't know what the butterfly effect is if you change that, but geez, it's hard to, it's hard not to think about. It makes it harder. It just makes it even harder.
Well, and if we're honest, what the Mavericks really need to do is they need to visit the Pod Maverick First official sponsor, a company called Body Spec. Guys, I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. Body Spec is a company we have partnered with because Josh and I use their products. We've each had a scan. We have the opportunity to get a second scan. I'm going to pay for a third scan. What it is it's a full body composition scan that helps you understand what's going on with your body. And, I've really, over the last 2 weeks, I've tried to establish some better habits. And I'm looking forward to taking another scan probably in mid-February to see where I was relative to when I took my first scan back in November. And what it does is it provides you this really detailed palette of information about your body for an affordable price. If you go to the bodyspec.com link in our show notes and in the YouTube link, you can start to see what we're talking about. You can go in here and get a full body scan using the promo code PODMAVS45, and you will get this scan for a really shockingly affordable price. The Body Spec competitors charge as much as $150 for something like this, and you'll come out of this scan with multiple pages of information, as well as some kind of signs to point you on how to work on the things that might be problematic. Like, for example, my scan told me that I have a lot of visceral fat. If you know anything about visceral fat, it's kind of the most unhealthy kind of fat. I thought I was in pretty good shape, just quite honest. I can run a sub 6 mile. I work out every day, but I still kind of, don't eat the best. And that's one of the things I've been trying to work on the last several weeks. I've talked to I'm actually kind of surprised about this. A number of Pod Mavericks listeners, and granted, this pleases me, that are going to get these scans and have really told me how impressed they were by it. I know Josh made a little bit of a joke because his was done kind of in a parking lot in a mobile facility, but that's just how easy it is. They have facilities all over Dallas. It's something we really recommend doing. And guys, like, just to be quite candid with you, if you're getting one of these scans, you're not just helping yourselves, you are helping us. It is a direct way to help Josh and I if you want to support this podcast while supporting yourselves. Again, if you'll visit the link in the show notes and in the podcast, the promo code is PODMAVS, all caps, 45. You get $15 off. I'm pretty sure you can just use that promo code again and again. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them and point you in the right direction. Thanks so much for letting me do some business here. I'm going to insert some more ads because that's going to be one of the best ways you can help support Josh and I's show here. Okay. Game over. Mavericks, kind of sad.
Yeah. Can I talk about one? Because I know we're going to transition. Can I talk about one more fun thing from this game?
Yeah.
I don't know if this was planned this way by Kid, but Brandon Williams, their two-way undrafted guard. It's his third season. Two-way player, undrafted free agent. Played 9 minutes, and he basically matched Rob Dillingham's 9 minutes. Like literally, they were mirroring each other on the floor in the first half. And Rob Dillingham, of course, is the Wolves' rookie point guard from Kentucky. They traded up into the top 10, picked him with the 8th overall pick to basically be like the successor to Mike Conley and be their future starting point guard. And obviously, you know, Brandon Williams is not a rookie. He's in his third season, although he hasn't really played a lot. Played a lot his rookie season in Portland when they were bad, but that's about it. And Brandon Williams smoked his ass in those 9 minutes. It was kind of amazing to watch. He thoroughly outplayed him. And if you look, and the plus minus is not lying, right? Williams was a +7 in those 9 minutes, and Dillingham was a -8. Williams went 1 of 2 from the field and had 3 assists in 9 minutes and a steal. Dillingham 0 for 3 from the floor and 1 assist and 1 turnover. That little 9-minute stretch was fun. I mean, like if we're trying to look for fun moments from these games, which is tough because they could be really sluggish. I thought that was cool. And, you know, Mavs fans might be wondering, why didn't Williams play more? Well, Dillingham didn't play again after that stretch. So hard to find the minutes. But like that was cool. Like I know like Dillingham is a very good rookie and Williams kind of dusted him up a little bit. I mean, obviously Dillingham's a great prospect, still going to be a great player. I just thought that was fun to watch.
Yeah, right.
Now we can definitely. That was my last fun thought.
All right, so maybe you were able to follow this more than me. I know we both have had like busy work weeks to start. What the hell happened with Lively? Can we kind of figure this out? I find myself misled, but I don't. And there's. So let's just be so. What can walk us through the timeline as we understand the Lively stuff.
So Lively sprained his ankle when it was against Denver. What was that? That was on January 14th. So about a week ago, sprains his ankle early in the game, first quarter. Kind of walks off, leaves the game. I remember he sat on the bench and there's a part, didn't look, by the way, normal ankle sprain. Didn't look particularly egregious. Looks like the same type of ankle sprain that we see that happens almost every other game. Like someone rolls their ankle in an NBA game. Kind of looked like one of those. He'll get it taped up, finish out the game. He got ruled out pretty fast. Like he was ruled out by halftime before halftime even started, or maybe it was halftime. So clearly it was worse than expected. He then out. He's out. He gets upgraded to questionable before either the Oklahoma, maybe it was before the Charlotte game, and doesn't play, which was kind of odd because usually the way the Mavericks injury progression on the report, like you get upgraded to questionable, and that's usually you're either close to playing. He's still questionable. So I think he was upgraded to questionable for Oklahoma City, and then he's still questionable going into Charlotte, and then. Okay, hey,
I don't think we can block Twitter users.
Oh God, what an awful.
Well, we're going to talk about the Casey Smith thing generally.
I know, but don't talk about it like that, you fucking idiots. I'm not even going to acknowledge it. All right, so Charlotte, he's still questionable, and then after the game, someone asked like, "Hey, is he questionable? Is he close?" And Kid is like, "He's not close," and it's like, the why is he questionable? Why is he not doubtful? And then this morning happens, and ESPN Shams Charania and Tim McMahon drop the kind of bombshell. Derek Lively sustained a fracture in his foot and will be out for 2 to 3 months. It's like, oh damn, okay, like what happened? Because he sprained his ankle.
Stress fracture, though. That's where I'm lost. Like I the language here matters.
No, I know it's bizarre because then the Mavericks released their release says Lively has a stress fracture in his ankle and will be reevaluated in 4 weeks, 1 month. So I don't know if the Mavericks are saying something different just to try to spin it, or if, Shams and Tim McMahon got told something different from their source. Because a fractured foot is different from a stress fracture and an ankle. Those are different injuries. And it makes it weird.
This is an interest. The Mavericks might be. That's a funny comment from our friend, our Twitter friend, the knife, saying the Mavericks might be the shadiest team in the NBA when it comes to being transparent with injuries. I don't know about that because all these teams suck at it, but it starts to feel this way.
Yeah,
because
it feels weird.
This was weird, and weird to the point. I don't want to.
He also had a sprained ankle. Like, it was such a routine. Like, I don't want to call an injury routine, but it was such a normal sprained ankle. Like, it just didn't look like it was serious.
Yeah, and shout out to our former editor and still friend Tim Cato, who just loves tripling down on Lively's not injury prone. He just gets injured a lot. I'm just like, okay.
Hey, for once, I didn't jinx the Mavericks season.
Well, and not to assign you work live on the air, but I think it might be worth 300 words being like, how is this and this? Like, there's something afoot, and we frankly deserve clarification, because how you go from this to that, it means that either when Chris Haynes was originally told that he was lied to, which getting lied to by a source openly on something like this doesn't happen. Like, why would you lie about that? And so, and Drew asks in the chat, what is the conspiracy? Ash asks, the ankle is part of the foot. Like, this is what we're talking about. Like, we're getting mixed messages, and I can't help but feel that that's intentional, which brings back something that we talked about at the start. Was it last season or 2 years ago when Casey Smith was quiet fired?
I think that was at the start of last season, right before. Yes.
Okay. So Casey Smith was effectively sent home. Casey Smith, longtime Mavs trainer, trainer for Team USA, well-respected.
Was a trainer of the 2011 title team.
Sat behind the Dallas Mavericks bench for a very long time, which I have no idea whether that's common or uncommon. I mean, it makes sense for the head trainer to be near the fucking players for when bad things happen. But He was essentially sent home. Like, they paid him to not work. And we kind of covered it within the extent that we could, but we're not sourced, and nor do we get to go to games anymore because we just don't have time and we're old. And it was something that nobody within the Mavs media sphere really seemed interested in investigating. And, before you jump down all the reporters' throats, guys, media members these days have only so many bullets in the chamber that they can afford to fire, because the way the PR team works and the access to players work, they can lose access. Like, they can effectively be pushed to like tier 2 where they don't even get to talk to players.
Yeah, someone in the comment is wondering if it was, due to something, the Mavericks had the sexual harassment. It was not related to anything like that.
No,
not alleged.
I sort of wonder, and this is total conjecture, but I sort of wonder if there was Casey Smith is on the forefront of a lot of things within medicine and within training stuff. And I sort of wonder if there was real pushback within some of the players and sitting, and, but since, and granted, freak accidents happen. So it's like, to circle all the way back to this stuff, Casey Smith stuff is getting brought up again because there's a lot of things happening at once, but I don't think it's training staff related.
Well, because fans are mad and you want to point the finger at something. Like, I don't. I understand why. Like, I don't blame fans for wondering about this. From my outsider's perspective, then this is not sourced. Again, this is just me trying to read the tea leaves. I mean, when Nico Harrison got hired and Cuban sold the team, this front office, became a minority owner. I mean, the front office got completely overhauled. Like, we know, publicly, privately, like, the whole
Cuban started making some of the changes, but they accelerated stuff in a big way.
Yeah, like the people that were in charge, like there were people that used to be in positions in the basketball ops side for decades that weren't there anymore. And that's everyone's like, this is so weird. It's like, no, that happens to every NBA team. Like, every professional sports team, when there's a new regime in terms of leadership, they bring in their guys. That's not an NBA thing. That's a pro sports thing. Mm-hmm. So my perspective is just new regime wants to bring in they want to bring in their guys. Nico Harrison did not hire Casey Smith. He came in. So like general managers want to hire, they want to reshape the front office and the organization in their model and their vision. And I don't think that's like nefarious. I don't think it's nefarious. I don't think there's anything like this. It can be a little weird, maybe how it played out where they kind of sent him home. But I don't think it's that weird for new front office leadership to want to reshape the office and what their vision is and bring in their own guys. Like general managers like to hire their own coaches. They like to hire their own staff. That is the way it is in pro sports. That's kind of my take on it. If there's anything more to it, hopefully people that are actually sourced could figure that out. But that's just my sense of it. So I don't think it's like something shady. Just think,
Yeah. And it makes you feel bad because there's an element of this team assemblage which we never talked about. And at least I feel like we didn't talk about it. Like we could have. There's a lot of stuff. Apparently you and I, this is my favorite thing. Apparently you and I in 2021, or maybe right after the bubble, whenever things were sort of starting to come back together with like what was going to happen to the Olympics. Apparently you and I voiced our concerns very shortly after the bubble that Luka was going to be playing too much basketball over the next 3 years.
Really?
Yes.
Well, we nailed that one.
Nailed that one.
Finally got one.
And it's so just to sort. This is a little bit is we didn't talk about the fact that if you're a 500-foot view of this team, we were really excited about the roster makeup, right? We apparently didn't talk about how elements of this roster were sort of frail from the get-go. Lively was not a discussion point, and I think that's fair because he's only in his second year. Clay's old. Kyrie's old. And that's that's two key cogs.
And then Luka has now Luka, even before this season started, starting to show.
I mean, Luka's feeling very Christian McCaffrey to me right now. It's not his fault. Injuries happen. Yeah. And I take offense the longer I sit with it. I take offense to the notion that a soft tissue injury is somehow having to do with his cardio. It pisses me off. Like we were early to the Luka needs to get his ass in shape train. Okay. And I'm more than willing to criticize him when he looks like he's not able to play 36 to 42 minutes a game. This is not that. Soft tissue injuries suck, and you're telling on yourself, and you're basically telling me that you've not played a competitive athletic sport at a reasonably high level, which is fine, but get hurt. Like, try to deal with it now. Even as a fan, if you're just trying to get yourself back in shape, when you get hurt, it sucks. It eats at stuff. So I'm not really interested in that with the Luka talk. But this team has had some bad luck, and sometimes that just happens. Yeah,
I mean, how can you predict Najee missing as many games as he missed with illness? And he got suspended for 4 games, and PJ was pretty healthy. Like, and then he has a knee sprain, which is unfortunate. Kyrie, and then again, Kyrie and Clay are older, so that's not as surprising. So, I mean, Kyrie's injury history that was the thing that we try to tell fans. When he got traded here, I remember with Kyrie was like, I kept talking about his availability, and people just want to bring up, the COVID vaccine and the suspension, and all that. And I try to be like, forget
he like breaks his face. He has like odd things happen.
Yeah. Like, forget that. That dude's had knee problems since Duke. Like Kyrie, like he's had lower leg issues.
And he's actually really surpassed my availability standards.
He really has. He has. Like, you're getting about as much as he can out of him. I think that's reasonable to expect. So yeah, it's tough. I was pretty bullish on them being able to steady the ship without Luka when Luka hurt himself on Christmas Day. Without Lively and Luka, I mean, I mean, you know me. I've been kind of campaigning and on the bandwagon. I know you're laughing. Like, we got some good comments right now, but
sorry.
I know we've been banging on the.
I'm a good troll. I like that.
But like, I've been banging the drum. Like, Lively's probably the second most important player on the team in terms of impacting winning.
Sure.
Not trying to piss anyone off. At the very worst, he's third on that totem pole. Like, that would be my stance. Like, he's their defensive anchor, and since he's been a Maverick, the records are pretty clear. When he's not playing, they lose. When he plays, they win. Like, we got a pretty decent track record of that now. So I don't know how they win without Luka and Lively. And even with my optimism about how good this roster is at being able to do stuff without Luka spoon feeding everything for them, like, defensively, they're just the Gafford minutes have been poor defensively this season, and now they're going to have to rely on that even more. The way that they went about building this roster was, they moved away from this really hyper athletic defensive focused team when they kind of swapped Josh Green and Derrick Jones Jr. for Klay Thompson and Najee Marshall. But the upside of that was like, okay, well, you still got Lively, you still have PJ Washington, Luka makes strides defensively, and his positional size is important.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we could still weather the storm defensively, and now we made the offense better, because I felt like that finals against Boston in 2024, we saw the limit of what a Luka Doncic defensive-minded team can do. Like, they just needed to balance the scales. Like, instead of being so defensive-minded, they needed to just shift it a little bit so they're still good on defense, but their offense just had a little bit more pop. And we saw that, right? Before everyone got hurt. For like a glorious 2 weeks, the Mavericks were kicking the shit out of everyone with Lively and Luka and Kyrie and PJ and Najee and Klay all healthy. And then everyone got hurt. So I still feel like it was right in theory, but now, like, Gafford thrived as a starter last season because in part, not all of it, but in part because he started next to Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington, who were two elite perimeter defensive athletic forwards or wings. They don't have that anymore. And it's okay that they don't have that, because when they're fully healthy, it all makes sense. But when they're not fully healthy, like, Gafford kind of needs that bulldog point of attack defender on the perimeter to make his defense work, because he's still good when he's contesting at the rim. Problems everything around that, guarding in space, pick and roll, drop coverage, all the other stuff that goes along with being a rim protector on the back line. And I don't think it's a coincidence that his best minutes have come when Grimes have been playing too, because Grimes is their best point of attack defender. So I actually wrote something. I've got something that's going to surprise Kirk. I wrote something that I'm going to try to get published tomorrow morning.
For the Mavs Moneyball?
For Mavs Moneyball. Right.
Big talker.
That's right. Kind of like, what do they do without Lively? Like, how do they survive? And I think if Gafford's going to start, which obviously he is, they need to start Grimes too, because they've been starting this Kyrie Dinwiddie lineup for a while.
Though, man.
I know, but they got to try. I don't see a way out of it without starting Grimes while Luka's out. So we'll see. It's a long way of me saying that they're kind of up shit's creek without a paddle. And I don't know what they can do, but they can. They got to look at these lineup data. They got to look at what's working, what's not. They got to adapt. They got to do all the stuff that Mavs fans think Jason Kidd can't do during the regular season. They got to be flexible, and they got to adapt, and they got to adjust quickly. And we'll see what happens.
That's right. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, just because I've had some folks ask, which means if you ask if we're going to do a live show and then you don't join the live show, you're very mean, because it results in me talking to myself until people are willing to do that. So I'm going to host the secondary show. Josh is going to go edit and take a look at what we got from Mavs Moneyball. I wasn't going to do it tonight, but then Lively got hurt. Mavericks play again tomorrow, which is, who do they play tomorrow? My brain's broken.
Someone good.
Yeah. The Thunder. Yeah. The Thunder, and SGA is coming off a career high, dropped 50 points, over 50 points. He scored a bunch of free throws and did a bunch of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander things. So that's gonna be fun.
They play Boston on Saturday.
And they play ball. Yeah. So it's like They could be 500 by Saturday, which sucks. But anyway, if you want to talk a little hoops with me, I'm going to post that thing in the chat. You guys can come and join and hang out, and we can talk a little basketball, anything else anybody wants to talk about, and then Josh and I'll be back tomorrow night for sure. Okay.
Yeah, y'all have fun. Y'all join the show. You've been asking Kirk, so give him something to talk about.
All right, guys. This has been Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. We will be right back. I will be right back. Everybody else, hang out. Go Mavs. Hello, everyone. Welcome to This is Group Therapy. We've not done group therapy in a very long time, largely because I have been very, very lethargic. The Mavericks haven't been fun, and so much not fun that I've not wanted to do a secondary live show. But you know what? It's time. The Dallas Mavericks fell to the Minnesota Timberwolves by 1 point. And that sucks. So we're going to talk about that along with anything else that's happened over the last month since I've done one of these shows. For anybody who has no idea what I'm talking about, if you're here listening to the YouTube channel, I posted in the comment a StreamYard link, which you can click from your phone, click from your computer, do whatever you want. It's really easy to join. You don't have to show your face, but I would like it. And we can talk a little basketball until people are bored. Thank goodness we already have one of our contributors waiting, and I don't have to talk to myself forever. We have Ash waiting in the comments, waiting to come up, and anybody else that joins in the meantime, we'll see how it goes. So just go ahead and click that link. Head to a waiting room. We can talk a little basketball. Ash, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Kirk. Good to finally meet you.
Thank you so much for joining. I always appreciate it when people join this thing because I can talk to myself. I don't want to.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaker at the end there, but in the end, I felt like the Mavs played a pretty solid game. I really can't complain.
In a game where you lose by 1 point, you can just nitpick all sorts of stuff. I felt pretty disappointed by the defensive focus in the second quarter, where I felt like that was when things started to go awry. But the fact that they kept coming back was pretty nice to see. Josh and I talked about it a little bit. I against teams that are like you're kind of above 500 teams, the Mavericks need to they just have to get outlier performances from some of their role players. Tonight I thought guys played okay. Spencer played pretty bad again, but again, Spencer shouldn't be playing 32 minutes, so I have a hard time staying mad at him. Whose performances did you like tonight?
I thought PJ was pretty decent. Kyrie, Gafford was as expected. Omax was decent. Nobody. I mean, it's just weird having so many guys out. Nobody else really stuck out that much.
Yeah, I was pleased to see Omax get the start and get minutes. 25 minutes. He scored 4 points on 7 shots, which made me laugh a little bit. But at the same time, I like his sort of reckless energy in a game where the Mavericks didn't have a lot. They sort of had every reason to lay down and die with how many guys were on the injury report. And I thought he gave them a pretty good spark to start the game, which was helpful.
I really liked that last 3-pointer at the end of the game. I know that it was too little too late, but it was kind of like Kyrie making a statement that he's such an assassin in the fourth quarter.
Man, and he missed. I bet he wants some of his shots back. So he ended up just 4 of 11. I mean, he shot, what is that? It's like 37%. But he had some good looks just not go down. It was sort of, that was not like disappointing, because when a guy scores 36 points in 38 minutes, you're pretty pleased with it. But man, if it felt like shots that he normally just buries in a big moment. Just it didn't go.
It's true. His efficiency's back, at least, because the prior game he wasn't even as efficient as he usually is. But at least I'm hoping his back problems are getting better now. I don't know.
It always worries me. You know, there was somebody in the chat earlier who was sort of wondering if he got hurt this game with a few of the tumbles that he took. I would just gamble in saying that if he was hurt, he would not have kept playing, because disc and sort of like nerve related pain is pretty fucking unbearable. It's the sort of thing that affects the way you like move. So I feel confident that he's okay. They're not going to put him in a dangerous position if he can't play.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got, but thanks for doing this.
Oh yeah, I need to start doing it again. Like, that's how I, the regular shows. Appreciate his first time joining. When there's like when I do them regularly, people start thinking about stuff that they want to ask me, which then makes the show a little more interactive. And that's on me just for not doing it. But I'm grateful you got us started.
All right, thanks for having me.
Have a good one. Yeah. So I can also take some questions from the chat. This is a good one that I actually enjoyed from Javier in the chat. He asks, you don't have any deadline hot takes? Well, the deadline's not for, when is the NBA trade deadline? Let's see here. NBA trade deadline 2025. That would be on Thursday, February 6th. So we're coming out. We're about 2 weeks away. I'm going to get closer, and that will help. I think if I sort of think, I don't know why, I have nothing to go with for here. I think the Mavericks make a run at Vujicic. I don't know why. I that's not a thing that is backed by anything. I've not talked to anyone. I've not asked any questions. I just sort of look at like the Mavericks' interesting offensive woes at the wrong time. And this is before I knew Lively was hurt. So I just, maybe that one's not going to happen now. So Vujicic sort of exists. Drew asks in the chat, will Beal waive his no trade clause? His agent put out a fairly stern statement today that said in no way is that happening, at least right now, which was something else. See if we have any other questions in the chat, because otherwise this might just be a very short episode, which is fine. Because this is my fault for not advertising this more earlier. Drew wanted me to flesh out the conspiracy. Which conspiracy do we think did we mean here? A little curious. Drew asked, how is Jimmy getting moved? Jimmy, in my uninformed opinion, I don't think Jimmy's getting moved. I think Pat Riley helped create the player empowerment era by clearing all the space and pulling LeBron to Miami. And I think he might sort of end the conspiracy, or I'm sorry, end the player empowerment era, because Butler got suspended for 2 more games today. He missed another team flight and was going to push the Heat to fly him out on a private jet. And they said no, which is pretty ridiculous. All right. We got anything else down here that's sort of worth commenting on? Yeah, I don't really know. Like trade stuff is never my deal. Brian Roby asks, what do you do with the 2025 first if Lively is only out a month as opposed to 2 to 3? They're given that the trade deadline is in 2 weeks, they're going to have to really, really know to make that choice. Don't you think? It would worry me, not worry me, but this is a pretty good draft. And if the Mavericks were to draft, in the 18-19 range and, make the playoffs as like a 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 seed and somehow, do something interesting in the first round, I would want them to have that pick. I think they have to, the kind of burgeoning consensus, I think, with relation to the draft pick is that the Mavericks will need to figure out a way to replace Gafford. So I just hope that I just hope that there's something there. TGK Chalupa says, no joke, should the Mavericks go for Bruce Brown? I would be opposed. I don't know what you give up for him. So that's kind of the problem that I have always had with trade stuff. You have to give to get, right? And with the Mavericks right now only having Gafford, if you create one problem and solve another with a lot of the guys that you would want to sort of trade for. Jonathan says, do the Mavericks need an actual backup point guard? I don't understand Spencer Dinwiddie, Jonathan. We had a stretch of games this year where he was diming. He was making beautiful passes and running an offense. And then Luka gets hurt and he just stops. He becomes like, Luka Doncic through a fax machine 300 times. John T asks about Ben Simmons buyout. Would he help? I'm anti, but that's because I don't like guys with bad attitudes. I have enough. I know enough from Philadelphia guys to make me think he is much more interested in looking cool than he is playing basketball. So it's just not really something for me. Chosen One asks, I would trade Clay. I'm sorry if it hurts you free agency wise. He has to go. Well, so he's on the books officially this year, next year, and then I think that third year is a player option. I don't think they move him this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they ever came to an agreement. Like, they're going to treat a future Hall of Famer like him with a lot of respect is where it goes. Bruce Brown is awesome. I have no idea why he's wasting away up north. He's just been moved around a couple of times. So that's a tough one. Drew asks, how many calls are the Chiefs going to get this game? Drew, I will link you to all the various articles and statistics showing you that the Chiefs don't actually get that many calls and that everybody is a whiny baby. That said, I just hope for a good game on Sunday because the Bills are really, 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 really good. Okay, well, we got kind of a quiet night. That's all right. Nobody really wants to talk. I don't blame you. I thought we would have some more thoughts and questions related to anything sort of lively adjacent or injury adjacent. But, really, there's just not a ton to talk about. We sort of know who these Mavs are. We know how bleak it's going to get, I think, at least intellectually. But then it's figuring out what to do with staring at the future in a given way. So they go Oklahoma, Boston, Washington, New Orleans, Detroit, Cleveland, Philly, Boston, Houston, Sacramento, Golden State, Miami, up until All-Star. That stinks, man. Do we have any picks? Yes, we do have picks. They have their 2025 first, which excuse me, they I think are allowed to move. Not entirely sure because it's like they own it right now and they don't. Their future things are pretty well established, but I don't really pay too much attention to it just because it can make you a little bit crazy. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, guys. This has been fun. We'll do it again and hanging out probably tomorrow night too, because it should be the Thunder game provokes passion. So if you have questions or thoughts, come prepared to join the show and chat a little bit. Shout out to Ash for actually getting things going. Maybe we'll get Mr. Green back from Australia, but I bet he is tired of watching these teams as well. Everybody be good. Enjoy your Thursday. We will talk soon. Go Mavs.